this afternoon on this story. Shashikantji, former IPS with us, and Sushant Sareen, strategic affairs expert with us. Now, Shashikantji, let me first understand, as cops or as security personnel, you'll have intelligence of meetings happening. How do you recognize people who are so highly radicalized? And the other aspect is that how many such groups are now currently percolating and currently operating pan-India? If this is happening only in Bihar, in Patna, in one city.
To respond to your question, let me state this thing that guys say that his mental stable, that's certainly what the doctors will tell. But my personal opinion, I've dealt with several terrorists and interrogated. My personal opinion is that generally, terrorists are all mentally deranged persons. They are not normal persons. That's why they indulge in such heinous acts and try to take human lives and try to play with the law of the land. And talking about this particular PFI and all those things, let me tell you, it's not only in Bihar. If you look at Simi, from which this particular PFI has links with Simi, Simi was almost all over. And if again you talk only of the PFI, what they had done, they were look at the Kerala High Court decision where they said it's an extremist organization, and this one and that SDPI they said. And again, just to make your to make the issue clear, one of these guys who belong to the PFI, a guy called I think Mohammed Shamil, he had gone off to Syria and joined ISIS. And it is clear, it is acknowledged everywhere that this particular organization has links not only with Pakistan, Turkey, and other organizations, but they are receiving money and directions directly from the ISI, their handlers sitting in Pakistan. And again, there has been certain information you can check out on the net and newspapers, etc., we wrote there. Even this particular group has links with the Al Qaeda. And you can imagine that how dangerous this organization is, and it's trying to spread. And again, one more thing. Like when they were in touch with the SDPI said that they want to create a joint lobby of Muslims, Dalits, backwards, and Adivasis. Now, Adivasis is important. That's the place in Bihar, Jharkhand, and all those places where some of these Adivasis are playing with the hands of CPML groups, nextalized groups. So it's all, like you said, initially the plot thickens, not only thickens, it's become so thick that I think it requires very, very close examination of the entire episode, entire situation. Thank you.
Ji Shashikantji, thank you for your input. I'll come back to you. Let me understand from Sushant Sareen. How do I crack this? They are using platforms which are highly encrypted. They are using, and it's the same numbers that are popping up across the board, which are looking at radicalizing and recruitment. There are similar strains if you were to see how social media has been used, be it the butchers of Udaipur, be it what happened with Khargon, be it what we are seeing in Bihar, in Patna, Sharif, Fulwari, in Patna and Fulwari, this one case. At every level, there seems to be a very structured, organized matter saying let's use multiple arms or wings of the Hydra, and however it is, whatever be the reason, let's try and radicalize and recruit Trojans here.
Yeah, I think that is a very clear modus operandi. And in many cases, these guys are not even trying to hide or disguise, where they are from. For example, normally if an intelligence agency or people associated with an intelligence agency wanted to carry out this kind of an activity, the first thing they would do is ensure that the numbers which they are showing are not from that particular country from which that intelligence agency comes, in this case, Pakistan. They'll try and disguise the +92 number, right? They'll try and have an Indian SIM or something like that so that nobody can pin it on the Pakistanis. Clearly, these people are, they're quite blasé about it. They don't care. It is also not possible that an intelligence agency like the ISI is not aware of the vulnerabilities, despite the claims that WhatsApp is highly encrypted. Despite those claims, the fact is that WhatsApp is extremely vulnerable to being decrypted, and very often many of these conversations are monitored, and yet they are going along with it. Now there could be one reason, could be that WhatsApp is far more widespread than some of the other apps. It could also be that it's easier to handle for many of the phones which are not of of the latest variety, or are rather somewhat lower down in the scale of smartphones. So that could be another reason. The one problem I have in the so-called lone wolf case, Anand, is that number one, it's a misnomer to call them a lone wolf. He might be an individual involved in a particular or running a module on his own. But to call him a lone wolf is a misnomer simply because, as your story yourself explains, he's part of a network which has found him useful for them to radicalize him. And even though he might be mentally imbalanced, which probably he is, in fact, all these characters are mentally imbalanced to go out and kill and murder and cause mayhem. But even aside of it, even if clinically this guy is mentally unstable, he becomes a useful pawn in the hands of some of these groups. So they influence him, they radicalize him, in which case his actions or the actions which he was likely to carry out are not coming out of his own volition. They are coming because somebody has actually been influencing the guy.
Yes.
So to call him a lone wolf is a mistake. What you now need to do is, or what the investigating agencies need to do is, look at that entire module or that WhatsApp group, try and narrow down who are those people involved, and then keep opening up layer after layer after layer which these people will be having in these kind of networks. I think that's the one way of going about it. The second thing is, which I found a little strange again, in this particular report of yours, as I think Arunima was explaining, somebody is saying that, I am from ISI. I don't think anybody, even if he is quite blasé about it, will ever identify his organization. One reason for that is that many of these jihadist groups, even the ones who work as auxiliaries of the ISI, like to, have deep suspicions of the ISI and these groups because they know that the ISI uses these guys as pawns in its larger game plan.
Right.
So they want to get used by the ISI to the extent it serves their purpose. But beyond that, their trust of the ISI is I think not there completely. So for somebody to openly identify himself that I belong to the ISI is a little strange, unless it's somebody who's trying to do some kind of grandstanding and trying to use that particular label to influence more people. Because some of the guys who's taking to jihad in India are probably influenced or not even influenced, they're probably taken in by Pakistan, and they think Pakistan is that great promised land which is there for the liberation of Indian Muslims. What they have done to their own Muslims is another matter.
Well,
but these idiots out here think that they will be highly applauded and lauded in Pakistan.
Now,
these idiots, for example, this guy you are talking about, where you claim that he has some family in Karachi, all he needs to do is ask his Karachi cousins how the Muhajirs are treated in Pakistan, how shabbily they are treated out there.
Correct.
They're treated as third-class citizens out there.
But their agenda is not